Let's talk about the teams for England versus Ireland. Should be an absolute cracker. Let's get straight in with this English team. Now, they've stuck with Genge. I thought they might go Marler, considering he's up against Furlong in the scrum, but they've stuck with him, and I understand that. Genge is a really good player, but certainly I think a lot of judgment's going to be on those scrums. Him and Sinclair have got a big job to do here. Sure, Ireland have lost Porter, but Healy's in, so he's a big scrummager, so that's going to be a big area. George there at hooker has been playing very solidly, so we'll see how they go. Certainly that English front row, I expect them to do really well around the park, but like I said, scrum's going to be the biggie. Second row, no start for Launchbury. I thought they might go with him. The sound coming out of Eddie Jones is that Launchbury maybe isn't quite match fit, but he's certainly been bigging him up as a player. Yules is in there alongside Itoje. Now Yules, let's discuss Yules. On pure athletic ability, not one of the best in the world. But he's actually quite a key cog in this English team at the moment because he's kind of the brains behind it, really. A good leader, good line-out caller, really tough guy there. A good sort of captain material, really. It's a shame he hasn't quite got that absolute top-end athletic ability, but he's very popular indeed, and that's why he's starting. Maybe if Launchbury gets a bit fitter, he might take over from him. Hill couldn't quite make it. His injury had to go back to his club to try and recoup that injury. Anyway, that's the front five. In the back row, Laws and Curry retain. Very good for Curry to get over his HIA. That's big for England. A real key player. And then Sam Simmons starts at 8. Now, I do wonder if this is tactical or I think more likely they wanted to play Don Brandt, but he had just come back from COVID, hadn't got a lot of training under his belt, so I think that's probably the reason why he's on the bench. But you're going to need 2 number 8s come the World Cup, so good to get Sam Simmons another start. Talking of starts, we've got Randall at 9. Now, I think that's significant. I thought maybe for this big game versus Ireland, they may go back to Youngs, but it is a sign, I think, that Randall is the number 1 at the moment. If he has a big game, he could be securing that number 1 spot as a pairing between Randall and Smith. Is a shame. I think Quirk picked up an injury. We didn't even have the chance to see him. I don't know if he would have been selected anyway. Then into the outside backs. Same sort of picture here. It's a small back line, barring Stewart, who's going to be hitting some big lines for sure. But that midfield, Slade at 12, Marchant at 13, very talented, but very small. They're going to be asking, I think, Slade to hit some big lines, try and go up against the likes of Aki. It's going to be a big ask. If it doesn't go right for England, do they have the tools to go through the front door if they can't unpick the lock? I'm not so sure, especially considering the English attack is quite a lot off the cuff. They are trying to play what they see, and if they've got one less tool to get through the gaps, could be a problem. We'll see if it all clicks. Could be great, like we said before. Malins and Noel on the wings again. Noel, come on Jack, big game for you. Now's the time. He's back fit. He hasn't been able to show his best for England, possibly ever. Let's hope he goes well. England are going to need him as the one specialist winger. Malins has been very good all round, but does he quite have that cutting edge in attack? We'll see. Then Stewart been going well at fullback. Then you can see the subs there. Blamire's got a big game coming off the bench. Then Marler and Stewart, Launchbury. So they've got some heavyweight forwards there to come on, including Don Brandt there. It looks like Sam Simmons is going to be covering blind side and open side. The backs, on the bench, are they game changers? I'm not so sure. They look more classic replacements to me. Maybe, they're missing a player like a Radwan, a Hassel-Collins, someone who could maybe change the game. We've seen what Wales have done with their replacements. They've got Lewis Rees-Zammit on there. So I'm not sure. If it all clicks, could be good. Could absolutely win. But I'm not 100% sold on this team. Still think they're missing a trick. I know they're trying new systems, but I think they're missing some tools. Now let's talk about Ireland. Some changes from that Italy game and a lot of experience coming in. Porter dropping out, but the experience of Healy in. They will definitely lose explosiveness around the pitch, but they should be fine in the scrum. A big thumbs up for Sheehan to play this big game. Herring on the bench there to back him up, but let's see how this young man goes. Good faith shown in him by Farrell. Then the fantastic Furlong at tight head. The first choice pairing is Burnham-Ryan. Henderson's back, so that's good. Lowe's more experience again. Looks like Burns probably going to be covering back row as well, because I don't think there's not a specialist flanker as such on the bench, because Peter Amani starts at 6. I didn't really see this one coming. Are they looking for extra line-out options? I don't know. Seems a bit harsh on Conan to drop to the bench, although a good opportunity to see Doris at 8. Many of you guys want to see him have a go at 8, so let's see how that back row goes. I think many of you want Coombs in that sort of back row as well, but let me know what you think of Peter Amani starting at 6. Sexton comes back into the half-backs, Gibson Park and Sexton. I don't think that's a surprise at all. In the backs, they've pretty much gone with what I suggested in my previous selection video, with Aki getting the nod over Henshaw and Lowe and Conway getting the nods on the wing. A bit tough on Hansen, but I think that was the best way to go, and Andy Farrell seems to agree. Keenan, unsurprisingly, coming back into 15. The likes of Lowry are going to have to wait. Then on the bench there, mentioned a number of those guys already, but more experience coming back on again, along with Henderson. We've got Murray coming back in, and Henshaw as well. So plenty of caps there in this Irish team. It's a big job to beat England. A lot of Irish fans and pundits have said that they're timing their run a bit too early. People are seeing what they can do and giving them chances to try and overcome their really good systems. I don't know though, are England going to be able to overcome the outstanding Irish systems and the fact they're so joined up in attack and defence? I don't know, I still think I put Ireland as slight favourites, although England are due a big game. If they click, could be really good. So let's talk about the Scottish team versus Italy. 5 changes from the defeat to France. Unsurprising there'd be some changes. Like in my selection, they've put Turner back in. Schumann's there with Xander Fagerson. They're sticking with Skinner and Gilchrist in the second row. And indeed, this whole pack is a bit small. It's very quick, but it's not the biggest. The excitement comes in the back row with Darge and Watson indeed pairing up. It was the pairing that I'd selected and I want to see. Then we've got Matt Fagerson, who is their first choice number 8 starting, so that's good news for them. I think it's fair enough with Bradbury dropping to the bench. I don't think he'd done enough to take over there if Fagerson was available, but the speed of Darge and Watson should be absolutely phenomenal. And considering Italy do play quite expansive, they don't just stick it up the jumper, it should be fine. It should be a really exciting game. Can't wait to unleash both of those guys. That will certainly worry Italy. Price and Russell retain halfbacks, completely unsurprising, although on the bench, a few changes there. Velikot gets a chance instead of White at scrum half, and many of you guys called for Velikot to get a chance. And indeed, Kinghorn drops out and Hastings comes in. He's been in good form for Gloucester. A lot of you guys not completely sold on Kinghorn. Some of you saying give him more time as well, but they've brought Hastings back in from the cold. And talking about coming back in, Johnson returns at 12. Tui Pelutu is on the bench, and he's a good, versatile back to have on the bench. So it's Johnson and Harris. Now, unfortunately, Duan van der Merwe is suspended, and this is one of the problems you can get with players playing outside of your country where you don't have control of them. He goes back to Worcester, gets suspended, and then one of your best wingers is unavailable. But a good chance for Steyn. He's got a great chance there to take over, and the informed Darcy Graham on the other wing, and of course the captain Hogg at fullback. Then the bench there, McAnally, Dell and Nell. Young Hodgson is a replacement second row. Bradbury on the bench there. It looks like Darge would just move over to 7 potentially if they need to cover 7. Velikot and Hastings, as I mentioned, and Tui Pelutu. So it's a very fast team. It should be a great game. I think Scotland should have too much for Italy, but I am predicting Italy to have their best match of the Six Nations, so actually could be a really good one. Let's hope so, because the last game involving Italy was a real disappointment due to that red card and 2 players going off. Anyway guys, let me know what you think of all of those teams, and I'll catch you next time.